Hey, Simon here, and today I get some support from Isaac Clarke, which you surely know from Dead Space, and he is a professional welder. And together we will check out and compare the cutting torches in Alien Isolation and Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Yay! Woohoo!
First, let's check out the shape of the welding. So in Alien Isolation, you can weld only on special prepared places. It looks really good, but it happens on a predefined path. It's basically an interactive animation. You as the player can choose going left or right, but that's all the freedom you get. Now let's look at Wolfenstein. Like in Alien, you can also only weld on some exclusive areas. In Wolfenstein, that's special metal plates where you can weld through. But in comparison, you are free to weld any shape you want, and you are not bound to any default path. But careful, there is a limitation. Yes, the mesh is divided dynamically, but for performance reasons, there is a restriction in precision, so that you cannot cut the metal in two tiny pieces. And here you can see an example. On the left, you can see that the cut begins at the first small hole at the plate, and on the right side, I try to cut at the exact same place. But there, the cut isn't happening because another cut is too near to it. That's the limitation I spoke of. That's the precision. You can't set two cuts too close to each other. But restriction or not, at the end you can cut whatever you want, even if it's a three-eyed alien or whatever shape you prefer. And now let's look at the edge which surrounds the cutting area. In both games, polystripes are created and rendered along the way and make the edge of the cutting area glow really nicely. And in the Alien game, besides of all the really nice sparkles and the small flames, the corners look perfectly round and there are no artifacts visible. More about this in a second. Because now we look at Wolfenstein and there the stripe also looks awesome, but seeing it side by side, I must say I prefer the more detailed version in Alien Isolation. And especially at the corners you can see some interruptions. But I would assume that this is just the price you have to pay for a free cutting technology in comparison with the more or less interactive animation in Alien Isolation. So I guess in this category, Ripley from Alien Isolation wins.
Woohoo!
But there's more. And now let's speak about the transition. Because in the Alien game, it's pretty straightforward. As soon as you close the welding cut, the polystripe disappears and the formerly undamaged door gets exchanged with a new geometry. But this time the geometry is already divided into parts so that Ripley can pull the inner part out within the animation. A nice detail is that for one frame you can see the bare metal of the exchanged geometry which is not glowing anymore and then starts glowing again. And here is a slow motion video where you can see that if you look really carefully. In Wolfenstein, it's similar and different at the same time. Here you can see that the cutout part falls down, and it's interesting that the newly created metal part has no glowing edge anymore. Similar to the Alien game is that for one frame you don't see the newly created geometry, it gets exchanged and then falls down. But in that case it's of course a dynamically created model and not predefined by an artist like in the Alien game. But that's not the end of the story. Here's an example made by me of such a polystripe. And as you can see, some polys reach outwards and some polys reach inwards to cover both sides of the cut. And this is not a problem until the inner part of the plate falls down. And the result is that the inner part of the polystripe hangs over or overlaps into the inner area, and this is something we don't want. So the obvious solution might be to divide the stripe and delete the inner part, but I have a different theory how Wolfenstein did it, and I want to show you my thoughts and give you kind of a proof in just a second. I guess you guys know soft particles, right? It's basically that you avoid a harsh cut, like you can see on the left, and you just avoid it by fading out the geometry the closer it gets to other geometries or surfaces. This is often used for particles, but of course, if the shader supports it, can also be added to other use cases. And what you can also do is to just invert that effect so that you only show the geometry when it's near to other surfaces, like you can see on the right side. What this means is that if you have a plane with, for example, a nice glow texture on it, and you apply this trick, you see it only if it's near to other surfaces and gets invisible when nothing else is in close distance. On the right you see a black area and this is just empty space. And if we finally apply this to our poly stripe, it looks like this. Isn't it awesome? Of course, I don't know for sure if it was done this way, but I think I'm on the right track because in Wolfenstein, when you get your hands near to the glowing edge, you can actually see the stripe again. And my guess is that the hands get written into the depth buffer and therefore the stripe thinks like, oh, something is near to me, I better show up. So let's get to the last category. It's about bridging. When you cut a hole into two polygons, for example the front and the back of the metal plate, you will run into the problem that you can see into the model. And it is just necessary to create some new polygons to close this gap. In the Alien game, this is relatively easy because an artist made the mesh and it was not created dynamically, and therefore he can close the gap manually. And in addition, this makes it possible to add some nice detail to the edge. Like you can see here, the edge looks really nicely frayed. Wolfenstein, on the other side, creates these bridge polygons on the fly with the help of some awesome code magic. Interestingly, they are not created immediately. As you can see here on the left, I cut the surface a bit but didn't complete the cut. And when I glit through the surface, we can see no bridge polygons. Until you set the last cut, which closes the welding edge, and now all necessary polygons are created. So, now we are finished with all the categories and I give the word to Isaac Clarke to present us the winner.
Yeah, thank you both. Now let me announce the winner. Ripley, your work looks really incredible, but it's very static. Blaskovic, your dynamic technology is impressive and looks great. So the winner is me, because I can cut metal and aliens. Ripley, why did you never thought about it? Hey guys, am I too late? I just wanted to show off my skills. What the...
Yeah, thank you, Isaac. I hope now everything is clear. And last but not least, just a small side note. Unfortunately, I have no idea how exactly the destruction in Rainbow Six works, but there will be a GDC talk this year and I just hope that it will be open for everybody and I hope that we will see some wireframe rendering, but that's just a hope. If you want to read more about geometry destruction, you may find my article interesting, which goes mainly about slicing and destruction in Metal Gear Rising and other games. And if you want to read more about gamer tricks, make sure you visit my blog where you can find over 60 other articles and some videos explaining really cool stuff. Thanks for watching and I hope you liked it. Feel free to give me feedback, write me a comment or a mail, whatever, and have a nice day.